Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Player Profiler today, where we are talking NFL offseason news every single day of the offseason. The draft is just 9 days away. This is Tuesday, April 16, Player Profiler Today edition. We're talking wide receivers getting paid, quarterbacks getting healthy, and of course, a little talk about the first round of the NFL draft, which will start with Caleb Williams to the Bears. This is Player Profiler Today. Hop in. Start talking right now. Welcome back to Player Profiler Today, your favorite NFL offseason show. We're talking every single day on the Player Profiler News YouTube channel, live on the Player Profiler NFL Twitter every single day. If you want to hop in chat and talk to us during these live streams, you can come over to the YouTube channel, Player Profiler News. We're live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, wherever you may be in the world. We'll talk NFL throughout this offseason. We've got a short-ish show today because we just haven't had much motion in the NFL draft, news department, where, when it comes to trades, when it comes to, just drama overall of people moving up and down the board. We had a little bit of J.J. McCarthy talk, a couple of weeks ago about him moving up the board with the combine. Feels like an eternity ago. So we're just going to talk about the main NFL news that should keep you up to date, and especially for your dynasty teams, for your 2024 fantasy football outlook. We'll talk about pretty much everything relevant over the last couple of days. I'm your host for Tuesdays, Ahan at Ahan Rungta on Twitter. If you want to talk to me more about sports and stuff like that, you can head over to my Twitter. But right now, you're here for some NFL talk for about 20 minutes, so let's get right to it. First off, I want to talk about one of the topics of the thumbnail of the title of this episode, which is quarterback injuries, specifically the good part of it, which is them getting healthy. We'll start with the obvious here is quarterback Anthony Richardson. Great rookie year, especially for those, who thought that maybe he was just a running back and he lacked the maturity, the IQ to be a quarterback in the NFL. Anthony Richardson proved a lot of those haters wrong early in the season as he was cooking along with Michael Pittman. Pittman gets extended, a couple of weeks ago. We already talked about it on the show, but more out of Anthony Richardson, whose season ended last year with a shoulder injury. He had shoulder surgery and is in, quote-unquote, a really good spot and, quote-unquote, should be good to go for practices, reported by pretty much everybody Colts-related, and coming straight from the horse's mouth, no pun intended, from head coach Shane Steichen. So Anthony Richardson looking like he's going to be ready going to be ready for week 1 of the NFL season, which is great news for everybody involved, including the Indianapolis Colts. Shout out Caitlin Clark, headed to Indiana, by the way. The future of Indiana looking bright in the sports department. So Anthony Richardson should be ready, and I'm stacking him with Michael Pittman wherever I can, because Michael Pittman, good NFL wide receiver. You look at his player profiler page, this is one of the most underrated pass catchers in the NFL over the last couple of years. Stacking him with Anthony Richardson, who can definitely throw the football, a healthy Anthony Richardson, hopefully a great fantasy football strategy, especially because Anthony Richardson will give you that top 5 fantasy upside on the ground. So maybe the new version, of the Jalen Hurts and AJ Browns of the world, but, at a Walmart price, given the Walmart floor. So Anthony Richardson on track. We'd love to hear that. More on the quarterback injuries, which, remember how it feels like it was a long, long time ago. The NFL season ended, and one of the main topics of discussion were how many quarterback injuries there were, how many backups we had to see at the end of the regular season. People were complaining about the added game, but just seemed like an absurd number of injuries to high-leverage players, high-leverage fantasy players and superstars in the NFL, one of them being Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence also had a shoulder injury, and he told reporters earlier today, that is Tuesday, that he did not feel fully healthy until March. And then he said, when March hit, I felt really good, like lifting and doing everything totally normal. But until March, I say that's when I started to feel 100%, do stuff that I normally do. Well, the good news is it is past March now. It is mid-April. And it looks like he will need some added help because of course, Calvin Ridley heads out of Jacksonville. So far, they've only really replaced him with Gabe Davis, as many people in the Player Profiler family will advertise. This is not a direct replacement. Gabe Davis cannot fill the shoes of Calvin Ridley, and it seems like the Jags will be trying to go for it next year with Trevor Lawrence healthy. And to do that, they will probably need to address the offense in the NFL draft, and they will certainly have opportunities to do that with the picks that they do have. So good news out of Trevor Lawrence's camp. Looks like he will also look to be ready for, I was going to say opening day. I am in MLB mode, but he will most likely be good to go for week 1 of the NFL season. And as a reminder, since we are entering draft week or close to it, the Jags currently have the number 17 overall pick in the first round of the draft, as well as the number 48 overall pick in the second round. So Jags have a few options in a deep wide receiver class to add to that offense, which they will probably need to do if they want to contend. Next up on the quarterback scale is Daniel Jones. Now, Daniel Jones, a guy that many at some point he was polarizing. At this point, I think a majority of the world can agree that although he may have certainly had plenty of good games with the Giants when healthy, it's certainly possible that Daniel Jones is far from the answer at the future of the Giants quarterback position, which is why it's so important that the Giants do have the number 6 overall draft pick in the draft in a few days, because they can do a lot of things with that pick, including get themselves a quarterback of the future. J.J. McCarthy, obviously a name that floats around a lot. Whether they view McCarthy as the future or not, this can be a debate by itself. This is not a debate show. You're here to get the news. For now, Daniel Jones has said that the plan is to get him ready for training camp. He says he feels good. So right now, Daniel Jones is the quarterback of the New York Giants, and we will see if that changes or if there's some competition involved after the NFL draft. I do want to mention that it is worth noting what the number 6 overall pick, what the scheme of that pick looks like right now. Right now, the favorite on sportsbooks by Vegas, the overwhelming favorite to go number 6 overall is Malik Neighbors. Now, whether that be to the New York Giants, which is currently the situation, the Giants hold the number 6 pick, whether that be to the New York Giants or not is a different question, but it is certainly within the realm of possibility that the New York Giants view Daniel Jones as the quarterback of the future. There isn't any solidified news out of that camp yet, but if they do go with Daniel Jones, Malik Neighbors would certainly be the look there, given that he could end up being the best wide receiver in the class. And of course, there's some questions about Marvin Harrison with him not attending many events that the NFL wide receiver prospect are expected to attend. So Malik Neighbors could end up being the best wide receiver in the class. It is a deep class. It is certainly within the realm of possibility. And speaking of wide receivers and rookies, I do want to mention that the Breakout Finder by Player Profiler is live. If you heard, you heard that right. If y'all are an OG of Player Profiler, you know what the Breakout Finder is. But for those of you who are unfamiliar, let me let the Podfather do the talking for me.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Breakout Finder coming at you. The Breakout Finder features 3 key tools. A database of metrics that include speed score, college dominator, breakout age, but also Breakout Finder only stats like dynamic score, level of competition, teammate score. All of these things are part of the overall Breakout Finder algorithm that pinpoints the probability that a player will break out. Everyone's talking about my model does this and my model does that. Well, we give you the data points that go into the model. We have a feature that lets you compare players, and then we give you the precise probability of every wide receiver, every running back, sorted and filterable by class year. So when I'm talking to my friends and I need to show them why I'm so bullish on player X, I pull out the Breakout Finder and bam, there he is. So go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's $5 to get the Breakout Finder, and then a couple extra bucks to get some of these additional enhanced stats. Go download it and thank me later.
We are back on Player Profiler today, where we're talking everything NFL news as of April 16th, 2024. The Podfather just talked about the Breakout Finder because we were talking about rookies and rookie wide receivers specifically. We're going to finish out the quarterback section of this show. And speaking of the NFL draft, more news is that quarterbacks Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and JJ McCarthy are all visiting the Commanders on Tuesday. That was today. They're expected to meet with Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, among others, as reported by NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. And managing partner Josh Harris will also be in attendance as he continues to observe and support new Washington leadership. Obviously, we have new leadership, not just on the coaching side, but on the organizational front out of the Commanders. So big time decisions for them to make at the quarterback position, as the Commanders currently hold the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft. The greatest power of position at stake right now, given that we all expect Caleb Williams to go number 1 to the Chicago Bears. So the Commanders have an opportunity to get the player under center of the future for that organization, and they have some options to do it. Those were most of the quarterback news out of the beginning of April. Also want to mention a couple of shout-outs on some extensions. First off, the Indianapolis Colts and Pro Bowl defensive tackle DeForest Buckner have reached an agreement to a 2-year, $46 million contract extension. Buckner, he was entering his final year of his contract, so shout out to him for getting a well-deserved bag. More on extensions. Devontae Smith has also received an extension, as my computer is lagging, but we are live, so I'm going to keep powering through it. Devontae Smith gets an extension, and as I look up the current numbers, there we have it as my laptop unjams. The Eagles exercised the 5th-year option on Devontae Smith and have agreed to terms on a 3-year contract extension through 2025. The extension basically is just 3 years, $75 million. $25 million a year, which includes $51 million guaranteed. This is arguably the best second option wide receiver in football. Very well deserved for Devontae Smith. Simply one of the best in the business. And speaking of second option wide receivers, wide receiver Jalen Waddle of the Dolphins will have his 5th-year option exercised, as reported by the Dolphins general manager, Chris Greer. And speaking of the Dolphins, linebacker Jalen Phillips will also have his 5th-year option exercised. Very few surprises on that front. Speaking of superstar wide receivers, one of the biggest superstars of them all, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, Justin Jefferson. So head coach Kevin O'Connell of the Vikings said that Justin Jefferson did not report to day 1 of voluntary workouts, which was yesterday on Monday. And as I want to emphasize here, as a reminder, it does say voluntary workouts, but Jefferson, it is noteworthy that Jefferson is waiting to get his money, as he should. More out of the extension front and signing front, the Raiders have taken a player from someone else's team once again, and they are signing former Bears Pro Bowler guard and center Cody Whitehair, and it is a 1-year deal worth up to $3 million. And I want to use this as an opportunity to transition into the last part of today's show. As promised, it is a relatively short show, but I want to give a quick update on the odds of the NFL draft right now. As we know, Caleb Williams is going to go number 1 overall to the Chicago Bears. That is, Caleb Williams going number 1 overall is a minus 10,000 event. That is essentially as close as it gets to a lock by Vegas, as Caleb Williams will go number 1. Jaden Daniels has now become the overwhelming favorite to go number 2 to the Washington Commanders. As a Patriots fan, personally, it makes me sad. I want Jaden Daniels on the New England Patriots, but this show is not about my feelings. Drake May is obviously the second option here to go number 2 to the Commanders. As mentioned earlier, they're all doing visits with the Commanders, who have the number 2 overall pick. And it seems like Vegas thinks that the steam has picked up on Jaden Daniels out of the Commanders camp. So that's where we stand right now. Some big line movement over the last 1 week or so. And as an extension to that, the number 3 overall pick is a 3-man race, as Drake May is the favorite to go number 3. Jaden Daniels, the second favorite, and JJ McCarthy has now steamed up a little bit as a plus 340 odds per FanDuel to go number 3. And that position is currently held by the New England Patriots, who have been notorious for trading their first-round draft picks. Trading down in this case would be the assumption if they do something with that pick. But there has been reported emphasis out of Patriot sharps saying that the Patriots are most likely keeping the number 3 overall pick. And right now, Drake May is a minus 140 to head to the Patriots. Certainly nothing set in stone yet, and we are 9 days away, so we could see a lot of movement over the next few days, which is why it's so important to keep coming back to the show and stay up to date with all the player profiler updates on social media, so that you could be getting notified as soon as something happens, so you get ahead of the game when talking about the future, aka the draft. At the number 4 overall pick right now, mentioned Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison still seems to be the overwhelming favorite to go number 4, which is currently held by the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, the Arizona Cardinals are one of the few teams up top at the NFL draft that don't need a new quarterback. They have Kyler Murray there. He's the future. Kyler Murray is a stud when he is healthy, and he has a little bit of help in the pass catching room. Marvin Harrison, certainly, if he's healthy, and if the red flags out of the workout sessions and the combine events, etc., if the red flags are really just a smokescreen, then Marvin Harrison would certainly be a huge help to that pass catching room, especially with the loss of Marquise Brown, who headed to the Chiefs. So Marvin Harrison, makes sense that he is minus 220 to go number 4 overall to the Arizona Cardinals. And circling back to the 5-6 area, Malik Neighbors is the favorite to go number 5 at plus 250, and also the favorite to go number 6 at plus 150. He looks like he's going to go somewhere in the 5-6 range, as Rome Odunze is the second favorite to go number 6, again, currently held by the Giants. The real interesting situation here that's going on to me is the number 5 overall pick, which is currently held by the Chargers. The Chargers can go several which ways about this. They obviously are, again, one of the other teams that obviously do not need a new quarterback. They have Justin Herbert, a superstar when he is healthy. Currently, the wide receiver room, if y'all seen that Will Smith meme of him just standing alone in the room, that is Justin Herbert right now. Keenan Allen is gone. Mike Williams is gone. There is pretty much nobody besides perhaps a breakout season from Donald Parham Jr. In the mix. Quentin Johnston, we know who he is. If Quentin Johnston were to bounce back and have a good sophomore season, it would be one of the biggest historical outliers in NFL wide receiver history. This guy is probably a bust. So the Chargers have several needs, right? And ideally, the most eye-popping one for fantasy managers, but from the football perspective as well, is get Justin Herbert some weapons so that this guy is not just standing around throwing to nobodies and watching people drop the football, etc. So for that reason, it makes sense that the favorite to go number 5 is Malik Neighbors by a little bit. And then the second favorite is Marvin Harrison Jr. if he does get passed up by the Arizona Cardinals. And it's actually almost a toss-up between those two as the favorite, but not too far behind him are also Joe Alt. And this one is interesting to me. JJ McCarthy, you can't count him out as going number 5 overall at plus 430. Could that mean that a trade is on the table for the Chargers to potentially move down and get the guy they want and get something more out of it by trading down? Perhaps. So that is definitely something to watch. That Vegas thinks that JJ McCarthy is certainly within the realm of possibility at plus 430, implied approximately 24% odds to go number 5 overall, which is interesting. And a name that I had circled to go number 5 over as a candidate to go number 5 overall to the Chargers was Brock Bowers, and he is nowhere to be found on the odds. He's plus 5,000 to go there. So the very early offseason steam of Brock Bowers potentially being a good fit with the Chargers. Looks like we don't have much of that anymore, as it looks like Joe Alt, the offensive lineman, J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback, Malik Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receivers, are the big four who could possibly go number 5 overall, and not necessarily to the Chargers. So I find that situation the most interesting, the one that's hanging most in limbo right now. Certainly something to keep in mind, because obviously the number 5 overall pick would affect the rest of the first round. Could we see a trade there? I'm predicting it now. I think we see our first trade of the NFL draft be the Chargers moving down from number 5. So that is potentially a bold take, but seeing the steam that Vegas is throwing at us here, it's within the realm of possibility. A few more positions I'd like to discuss here. Number 6, I already mentioned, that is currently held by the New York Giants, but number 7, held by the Tennessee Titans, another team that has plenty of needs. One of the worst pass defenses in the NFL in the 2023 to 24 season, but also the wide receiver situation, the pass catcher situation is not good, as they have added Calvin Ridley, and many would argue an overpay for a 31-year-old Calvin Ridley. So what do they do here with the number 7 overall pick? Well, the overwhelming favorite is Joe Alt. So to summarize the Joe Alt situation with the offensive line, he is clearly the favorite to go number 7, and that's currently being held by the Titans. Joe Alt is minus 135 to go there. The second closest odds for number 7 overall is Rome Odunze at plus 600. And Talisi Fuaga is also plus 650. But Joe Alt, the overwhelming favorite, adding some offensive line help to Will Levis after they already added some offensive line help last year. So looks like the Tennessee Titans could be going after the just pure offensive route here, and we'll figure out the defense later. Which could be exciting for fantasy managers and potential Will Levis stacks. But that's a topic for another day. Rounding out the top 10, the number 8 overall pick. A lot of 8s going on in Atlanta as Kirk Cousins heads to Atlanta. Obviously, that happened a few weeks ago. But the number 8 overall pick currently being held by the Atlanta Falcons. The overwhelming favorite for that pick right now at number 8, according to FanDuel, plus 195, is the linebacker Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner, obviously a great season at Alabama, and he would be in this case, he would be the first defensive player taken off the board. So it makes a lot of sense for Atlanta to go after defense. It's not surprising that he's a favorite, but also Laiatu Latu is also in the mix to go number 8 to the Atlanta Falcons, or at least to the current position being held by the Atlanta Falcons, to go number 8 overall, the defensive end out of UCLA. So looks like Atlanta is going defense, and nobody should be surprised per se by that move with how many offensive weapons they already have in place for Kirk Cousins. Rounding out the top 10, at number 9, we got the second Chicago Bears pick of the draft. Of course, Chicago has flexibility here. We know they're going Caleb Williams number 1 overall, but could they potentially do something with that number 9 pick as well? They have the option to trade, but they also have the option to just use it. And if they do, well, the clear favorite for the number 9 overall pick is Rome Odunze here. Now, remember, Chicago already added Keenan Allen. They already have DJ Moore. So this is also potentially a trade situation going on here where the Chicago Bears could move around. And if Rome Odunze gets drafted number 9, I don't think it will necessarily be the Chicago Bears, with the fact that they already have a few good weapons. Don't forget about Cole Kmet as well. So something to keep in mind there. Lastly, the number 10 overall pick, and we finally get to talk about the best tight end prospect of the draft, because Brock Bowers is the favorite to go number 10 overall right now at plus 230. He's the overwhelming favorite to go number 10, and that spot is currently being held by the New York Giants, who actually have a plethora of tight ends on their depth chart, just none as good as Brock Bowers. So something to watch there, as well as Brock Bowers potentially falling even out of the top 10 could be a big storyline, since he is just simply one of the best tight end prospects we've seen in recent times. And his market to be a top 10 pick is actually plus 175. So he could very well fall out of the top 10. Looks like he is likely going to fall out of the top 10, actually. So something to keep in mind there. Potentially the steal of the first round, Brock Bowers. And Brock Bowers, if he lands in an average plus a decent offense, fire up those stocks, because Brock Bowers, baby, is really damn good. That was Player Profiler today, Tuesday, April 16, 2024 edition. We appreciate the couple hundred of you who were following along in chat. If you want more NFL content throughout the offseason, you want more fantasy content, hit up all Player Profiler socials. But make sure you join Player Profiler today stream every day, even if you don't want to deal with me. That's even better because I'm only streaming here once a week. You got other great hosts across the Player Profiler family taking care of business here every night at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Player Profiler today. And for now, let's just try to get through these next less than 2 weeks, 9-ish days until the NFL draft. And let's see if we can get a trade before the next time, I show up on stream. But for now, we'll see you tomorrow. Player Profiler today, right here on Player Profiler News Channel. The next episode of Player Profiler today.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.